All right, next up we have Chris Lorraine. Chris grew up in Davenport, Iowa, completed his undergraduate degree at the University of Iowa, spent some time abroad with his wife, Emily, who's right there she is, and returned to Davenport to complete his chiropractic degree. Chris geeks out on cycling, running, local food, stout beer, red wine, dark chocolate, blues music, and developmental kinesiology. I'm so impressed with that. Here's Chris.
So, just a quick introduction. So we're going to talk about inflammation, longevity, its role in chronic diseases, and sort of the pathway that the United States has come to get into a point of chronic disease, and sort of a way that we can think about getting out. So here we are. So in 2005, the New England Journal of Medicine released a study that said that the current generation, the generation born today, would be the first generation in the history of the United States to have a shorter life expectancy than that of their parents. And so this is obviously a tremendously huge problem, multifaceted, but we can identify a few of the factors that play a role. So we can see in this chart from the CDC that obesity and diabetes, considered chronic diseases, right, dramatically increased from 1994 to 2009. We can extrapolate that to 2013, and those colors all get darker. So what are these chronic diseases? So obesity, diabetes, chronic heart conditions, respiratory illnesses, as well as some cancers play a role in this chronic disease state. So one common thread with all of these is the concept of inflammation. So these diseases all cause inflammation in the body, and in some ways are driven by inflammation. So inflammation is a physiological process in your body that has been honed by evolution through the history of time from the beginning of skin, right? So it is an acute response to an injury, a pathogen, or any other foreign body, and that acute inflammation drives the healing process. So what happens though when the inflammation process, the acute inflammation process becomes chronic? Well, the body begins to sort of seek battle onto itself. So the body then responds to inflammation and creates more inflammation. So what does that mean? So we are in a jungle, right? Here comes a lion. Our fight or flight response triggers, we get away. So it's a short-term acute response to a pathogen, we'll say, and then it's over. You're away, you're safe. But what again happens if you run all the time? So there's several players in our daily lives that affect inflammation on a small level, but incrementally they play a big role. So red meat, the grain-fed meat, is high in arachidonic acid, which is an omega-6 fatty acid. These are all buzzwords in healthcare that play a role in pro-inflammatory processes. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition released recently that they know that high glycemic index starches, flours, potatoes, those sort of things, and processed sugars are pro-inflammatory in your system. So you can think about an inflammatory system that we're adding to. You can see an additive effect right away. So we can eat differently to change the way this information works. In addition, the way we move plays a role here. So there's a study released recently that states that Americans watch more than 4 hours of television a day. That translates to greater than 28 hours a week, and then translates further to 2 months of solid television watching per year. So that's a dramatic statistic. In addition to the way we move or do not move in front of television, our mental state plays a role in the inflammatory process. So Robert Sapolsky wrote a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, and he stated that our mind can trigger a fight or flight response and maintain that in a chronic state. So how does this all fit together? We know that inflammation drives these diseases, and then the disease drives inflammation. So how can we turn it back the other way? So we're in a chronically inflamed state. These diseases that are known to respond to inflammation that drive this way, how can we turn it back? So there's a project, it's big here in Iowa because we are luckily one of the recipients of this, the Blue Zones Project. So they've identified many factors in cultures that have people that live a long time, right? So we look to these cultures to find out what to do. And what we found that their plant-based diets make a huge impact. So another way to think about this is eating the rainbow. So find as many different fruits and vegetables in many different colors as possible to integrate into your diet. So another way, we move away from the arachidonic acid that we find in the red meats, the dark red meats, and try to bring in more omega-3s that we find from fish, wild-caught fish, grass-fed beef, lean meats that are around wild-caught game, that sort of thing. In addition, red wine, dark chocolate, it's not on the slide, green tea, and stout beer, all are known to be anti-inflammatory. Water as well. Now, the evidence on alcohol is often conflicting, so always keep in moderation. So here we are. We kind of have a few ideas of what's perpetuating this or chronic diseases, and now we have a few ideas of what we can do to kind of turn the other way. And this is a tremendously huge problem with much more topics than just these today. But we kind of have an idea of what we can do differently. So Michael Pollan, a food writer that I love, talks about shopping the perimeter of a grocery store, right? To find all the most fresh fruits, vegetables, meats, that sort of thing in the perimeter of the store. Now, you go to a farmer's market, and the farmer's market is almost the perimeter of the store, so those are obviously a very good place to be. So, if we can change the way we act on a daily basis, not just the way we act, but things that we can do incrementally to change the way we eat, the way we move, the way we think, we might be able to do this. So this woman is 88 years old, and that's the best boat clothes I've ever seen. This fellow, by the name of Kimura, he's a Japanese fellow, and as of yesterday, he was the longest living known person on the planet. And he died yesterday. So, power, right? Interestingly enough, the woman that preceded him died at the age of 115. She was born in Italy and lived most of her life